Welcome back, Focus Learners. Let's jump right into this. Today we're unpacking a beautifully crafted piece of allegorical source material. It's called The Shelter of Invisible Rain. Now, on the surface, sure, it reads like a charming little story about a magical object. But beneath that, it is a fascinating, profound look at emotional intelligence, empathy, and those hidden, heavy burdens people carry around every single day. If you've ever felt like you're hauling around a weight no one else can see, or, just wanted to better understand how to support the people in your life, this explainer is going to map that out perfectly. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right up front, the text hits us with this incredibly powerful quote. Sometimes storms aren't outside. And man, that single line really nails the core idea of everything we're about to explore, doesn't it? We're so used to checking the weather app, looking up at physical clouds, and grabbing our raincoats. But this story, it demands we look at the internal weather of the people right in front of us. It sets the whole stage by suggesting that the most violent storms, the heaviest downpours, they're often happening entirely inside a person's mind. Recognizing that is literally step one of human empathy.
Now, every great journey needs a catalyst, right? And ours comes in the form of a remarkably ordinary object. The text introduces us to our protagonist, a 16-year-old girl named Emma. She wanders into this cramped umbrella shop on a rainy afternoon. She's not looking for magic, obviously. She just wants something cheap that isn't going to break in the wind. The shopkeeper, Mr. Oliver, points her to what he calls the forgotten umbrella. It's described as this faded navy blue umbrella with just a tiny silver cloud engraved right near the tip. Everyone else just thought it was way too old and way too plain. But this physical object is about to become a major tool for navigating those internal storms we were just talking about. So Emma naturally questions why she should buy this dusty old thing. And Mr. Oliver delivers this beautifully cryptic line. He says, "It keeps more than rain away." Emma kind of just laughs it off as an old man's joke, but it really makes us wonder, doesn't it? If an umbrella isn't just shielding you from literal physical rain, what exactly is it protecting you from? This is the exact moment the narrative shifts gears. It signals to us that we're dealing with a metaphor here for a totally different kind of shelter. And that completely makes sense. The second Emma actually opens the umbrella outside, the text sets up this really sharp, immediate contrast. On one hand, you have the physical world. It's chaotic. Noisy city streets, cars rushing by, heavy rain pounding down. But the split second the umbrella opens, she crosses this threshold. Inside the umbrella, the sound of the rain just completely vanishes. It's replaced by this absolute silence, a sense of profound isolation. And then, a soft, mysterious whisper telling her that someone nearby is carrying invisible rain. It's an incredible sensory shift. It rips us right out of the bustling physical world and drops us straight into the quiet, often really lonely space of human emotion. Now, what's really interesting here is the literal definition the text gives us for this phenomenon. The umbrella eventually explains that invisible rain is made up of, quote, tears that never reach the ground. Just take a second to think about that. It is such a striking visual for hidden grief, unspoken stress, and all that quiet sadness people just swallow down and hide from the rest of the world. We literally walk past people every single day who are completely drenched in this invisible rain. On the outside, they look totally fine. But internally, they're carrying a hurricane. The umbrella simply gives Emma the ability to perceive it. So once Emma can actually perceive this hidden sadness, she has a choice to make. How does she respond? Well, on day one, she spots a little boy at a bus stop whose dad forgot to pick him up. And she doesn't have some grand magical solution. She simply sits beside him. That's it. The next day, she offers a bottle of water to an exhausted nurse who hasn't been asked if she's okay all shift. Over the coming weeks, she notices a lonely musician, a super stressed student, an overworked taxi driver. She actively collects their hidden sadness just by taking the time to notice them and offer support. She becomes their shelter. And with every single small act of presence, an invisible raindrop floats from the person and gets absorbed right into the umbrella. And as Emma keeps doing this, the umbrella actually physically changes. It's a direct visual map of her empathy. That faded fabric, it turns this vibrant deep blue again. Tiny silver stars start popping up all across it. Every single time she absorbs a bit of someone else's burden, every time she collects one of those invisible raindrops, the umbrella grows more beautiful and just a little bit brighter. The source material is essentially showing us that empathy doesn't deplete us, it transforms us. The accumulation of these shared burdens is actually bringing color and light back to something that everyone else had forgotten. But,
This leads to a pretty crucial narrative crossroads. Emma freezes and asks the umbrella the exact question we're all thinking. What happens when it's full? It's a question of emotional capacity, right? If we spend our entire lives absorbing the pain and stress and tears of other people, where does it all go? Do we just haul it around forever until we eventually break under the weight? It builds this fantastic tension in the story, because we're left wondering about the ultimate purpose of collecting all this heavy, invisible rain.
Well, the umbrella answers with just 3 little words. It returns hope. It's incredibly short, but so deeply impactful. And it hints at this profound ripple effect. Empathy, the text is arguing here, is absolutely not a black hole. When we take on a fraction of someone else's pain, we aren't just hoarding sadness in a closet somewhere. We are storing up potential energy. We're gathering this raw emotional material that is eventually going to be transformed and returns to the world in a way that heals. And to really hammer this point home, the story throws the city into a total crisis. We get another stark contrast. The city is hit with its worst physical drought in decades. Rivers shrink to nothing, parks turn completely yellow, the sky is just empty, and people are literally arguing out in the streets over a bottle of water. It is a completely depleted, parched reality. But holding that contrast is our magical umbrella. Emma opens it up and realizes it is unusually heavy, because inside that fabric, millions of shimmering, invisible raindrops have been stored up. While the physical world has absolutely nothing left to give, there is this immense, swollen, emotional abundance just waiting to be released. So the crucial point is captured in this one beautiful realization. Kindness never disappears. And this is exactly why this story matters to us. It is so incredibly easy to feel like our tiny acts of compassion, listening to a friend vent, offering a kind word to a total stranger, just sort of evaporate into the void, like they don't matter. But the source material insists that no act of empathy is ever truly lost or wasted. It is conserved, it is held, just waiting for the exact moment it is needed most. Which brings us right to the climax of the narrative, the miracle storm. Right in the dead middle of this terrible, devastating drought, the impossible happens. Every single invisible raindrop that Emma collected through those quiet little acts of kindness suddenly rises up out of the umbrella and straight into the empty sky. Clouds literally gather from every direction in a matter of minutes. All of that stored empathy is released back into the atmosphere in just a spectacular downpour. And the impact is immediate. Rain pours across the entire parched city, children are out there dancing in the streets, farmers are crying tears of relief, the trees are finally drinking deeply. The text just beautifully illustrates how one person's localized empathy, literally just a 16-year-old girl noticing lonely people at bus stops and hospitals, managed to compound into a force powerful enough to nourish a whole community. It is a breathtaking visual of how individual kindness scales up to create massive systemic relief. But as the celebration dies down and the rain finally stops, we're left with a pretty pressing question. What happened to the magic? Emma, with her heart just pounding, sprints back through the newly washed city streets to Mr. Oliver's shop the very next day. She needs to understand what the heck just happened, and frankly, so do we. But she doesn't find Mr. Oliver. In a brilliant, completely unexpected twist of magical realism, Emma finds an empty building. A baker next door looks at her like she's crazy and tells her there hasn't been an umbrella shop on that corner for over 20 years. The shop and the old man, they never really existed in the physical timeline she thought they did. No way, right? Let's move to and see how this builds, because Emma looks down at the umbrella in her hands and the magic has completely left the object. It's just a totally ordinary faded umbrella again. That tiny silver cloud engraving vanished without a trace. The story deliberately strips away the magical crutch here, shifting the responsibility of empathy directly off of the enchanted object and placing it squarely onto the human characters themselves. The only thing left is a single clue, just one sentence stitched right inside the ordinary fabric. And here's what it says. The world is never short of rain, only of people willing to stand beside someone carrying it. Guys, this is the core thematic takeaway of our entire explainer. You do not need a magical, glowing umbrella to be empathetic. The invisible rain, the grief, the loneliness, the everyday stress, it is always going to be there. The limiting factor in our world is not a lack of sadness. It's a lack of people who are willing to just pause their busy lives, step into someone else's storm, and simply stand beside them. Which leads us beautifully into the real magic of the story's epilogue. Years later, Emma grows up and becomes a counselor. She applies this exact lesson in the real world. She isn't famous, she isn't rich, but she provides a tangible shelter for people trying to navigate their own internal storms. And she keeps that completely ordinary, non-magical umbrella right beside her desk as a reminder. Because of her willingness to listen and hold space, every single person who leaves her office walks away just a little bit lighter. She's doing the exact same work she did as a teenager, just without the need for literal magic.
And that brings us to the final provocative thought she shares when people ask her about that old umbrella. The smallest shelter changes someone's entire weather. It is such a profound reminder that you don't need to fix someone's entire life to make a difference. Sometimes, just offering a moment of understanding, handing over a bottle of water, or even just sitting quietly on a bus stop bench is enough to completely shift the climate of their day. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to carry with you. Who around you might be soaked in invisible rain right now? And how can you be the smallest shelter for them today? Keep learning, keep noticing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.